podcasts on unctv.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNCTV.
One place many people say you can talk about sex is a college campus, where attitudes about sex are often more open. But talk is not enough to stop the disease from spreading, because doctors say the new age of HIV/AIDS has seen a rapid rise in new cases among college students in North Carolina. Jonathan Perry is one of the people infected. He got the disease from the man he'd been dating.
I'd asked him before we had sex if he was HIV positive, if he had anything I could contract, and he told me no.
Perry thought he was protecting himself. He and his partner used a condom, but it broke. Then he found out his partner had not told the truth about his HIV status.
I asked him why he lied to me, and he was like, well, because he figured that I wouldn't want him if, I knew he had it.
Perry is a recent graduate of Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte. Researchers at UNC Chapel Hill, who are studying an HIV outbreak on college campuses, say he is one of a growing number of students diagnosed with HIV.
What we found was very few cases in 2000, but a gradual increase from 2000 through 2003. So that by 2003 we had 30 new cases of HIV in college students that had been diagnosed that year.
Doctors Peter Leone and Lisa Haito say over those 4 years, a total of 84 men at 37 colleges statewide contracted HIV. And by examining the men's sexual patterns and partners, they found links to similar outbreaks in 5 other southern states.
When you look at the number of colleges that are involved, the number of students, we see a trend. And our goal as public health practitioners is to prevent the numbers to be getting into the range of the hundreds and the thousands.
The researchers say a critical part of that effort will be getting students to realize they are at risk. Dr. Leone says many newly diagnosed students met their sex partners in bars or over the internet, and most grossly underestimated their own vulnerability.
Even though they were engaging in relatively high-risk sexual behavior. And what I mean by that is we're talking about 30 to 40% of these students engaging in unprotected, receptive anal intercourse, probably the highest risk activity you can engage in, and yet none of them, zero, thought that they were likely or very likely to contract HIV.
Changing that belief has become Jonathan Perry's mission. He has spoken at national conferences and was featured on The Oprah Winfrey Show talking about the college HIV outbreak.
We have to create some drama, how we have to stir in some mess. We have to do non-traditional things to get non-traditional results.
Non-traditional things like tailoring prevention messages specifically to Black students. Just like the larger HIV epidemic, the college outbreak disproportionately affects African Americans. State figures show 88% of the students diagnosed with HIV from 2000 to 2003 were Black. The state's response is an initiative called Project Commit to Prevent, which targets the state's 12 historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs.
Some of the campuses have actually had contests to see who could develop the best safe sex message. Some campuses send out email messages to the entire campus membership, things that they need to know about HIV and STDs.
At Johnson C. Smith University, an HIV 101 class is mandatory for freshmen. The university hosts safe sex parties to teach all students about prevention in an easygoing atmosphere. And peer educators work to dispel the myths about HIV.
You put a face on it, you can say, hey, it can happen to anybody, whether you're pretty, whether you're not, whether you're smart or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have a face, it's not a preference. Anybody can catch that disease.
If only a fourth of the organizations did one thing related to HIV prevention, how many students could be impacted?
Forums like this one at North Carolina A&T in Greensboro also give students the chance to hear the facts about HIV and suggest ways to increase AIDS awareness and testing.
They take shuttles to the club. Why not take shuttles around there to the Department of Health?
State health leaders say it's important to realize the HIV outbreak is a problem not just at HBCUs, but on all campuses.
We wanted to emphasize that it's not one campus, it's not, even one part of the state, and it's certainly not just, one demographic. It's anyone who is having, unprotected sex certainly can be at risk.
That's where UNC Chapel Hill's Safe Sex Squad comes in, using another non-traditional tactic to help reduce the risk.
Just to go over a few rules before we go out this evening. If they like to engage in discussion, feel free to. However, don't force anything on anybody.
Once a month, students hit the streets to pass out safe sex kits to anyone who'll take them.
Do you like a safe sex kit? Okay.
Each kit contains condoms, along with instructions on how to use them and information about healthy relationships, abstinence, and HIV testing. Educators say this prevention effort and all the others on college campuses are vital because lives are at stake.
This is a disease that is taking the lives of young adults, taking the lives of our next generation of leaders, taking the lives of those who will contribute to this state, to your community, to your town. If we don't work to do whatever we can to get them to embrace prevention, to get them to keep themselves safe, we will lose a generation, and where will we be?
My message to people is to stand up, take responsibility for you and your behavior. It's your responsibility to save your own life.